And we are breaking things down for you for the U.S. men's national team's big 1-0 win over Saudi Arabia, their second win of the Gold Cup in its many games, which puts them on top of the table, which means they have now qualified for the quarterfinals. And we're excited to break this game down for you. Charlie, let's talk about the difference in the first half, which felt a little lackluster, into what you saw in the second half. What were the big differences for you?
Well, I think the second half, Saudi Arabia got tired in the way that they defended. And so I think the U.S. did a better job of playing higher up the pitch, trying to create the width. And they won the free kick, right? And right at the substitutions, when you came in at the 62nd minute, you get Adams in, you get Downs in, set piece, goal. Then we saw Saudi Arabia have to being forced to change their tactics. They're throwing numbers forward. They were forced to not sit back and defend now, take more risks, which opened up the game a lot more for the U.S. So that's why we really saw a change in the game halfway through that second half, which ultimately Saudi Arabia just didn't have enough quality. They're tough. They make it difficult. But in terms of quality on the ball, players that can break you down, they were missing players that could do something. So again, it wasn't the toughest test in terms of defensive moments. Of course, you got to be aware of transition and counterattacks, but ultimately, this is a game where we're dictating, and we just got to be smart, and you need to be creative, and those things don't happen. But in a World Cup game, Jimmy, Tony, you both know this. In big matches, set pieces can be the difference. Set
100%.
pieces, and that's exactly how it worked out tonight.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, Saudi Arabia is missing arguably 8 of their best players. They're all with Al Hilal in the FIFA Club World Cup, so they're not participating in the Gold Cup. That would have made a difference. It would have been a bit of a tougher test, I would say. But I was pretty impressed with the discipline that Saudi Arabia did have in the first half, especially in their team shape. Very hard to break down. Diego Luna, Malik Tillman, Luca De La Torre didn't have much of the ball. We weren't creating as many chances. And I thought, Tony, you made a great point right after halftime about you wanted to see the tempo change, the rhythm change. And I thought we demonstrated that a little bit more. And really, it's hard to know because the game didn't really open up until we scored. And we had to do it on a set piece. And a very well-taken set piece. Sebastian Berhalter hit in a great ball. And what a finish by a center back. So I got plenty of time for Chris Richards, and his half volley off the half bounce was really impressive. But when we look at the stats overall, Tones, all the metrics are in favor of the U.S. More shots on target, double the possession. You had double the amount of passes that they connected, pass accuracy, corner kicks. I mean, everything was pretty one-sided to the U.S. We just needed that one goal to seal the deal. And then I was impressed with how we managed the game because Saudi Arabia was pressing a little bit afterwards.
Yeah. For me, I learned a little bit about some guys tonight. I think that's the most important thing. Chris Richards, we knew he played well against Trinidad. Now we want to see him step up to another level. He's been in that sort of Malik Tillman conversation with, can we get the same guy at the national team level that we have at the club level? I think we're starting to see it from both of those guys. You can see the quality. I think it was you, Charlie, that said we probably are seeing one of our starting center backs kind of emerge right now. So that part is pretty good. I like the Matt Freese conversation right now. Give him his props. Second half, they did pick up the pace a little bit, and as you mentioned, Jimmy, they did manage in the end. I mean, what else? I'm just trying to think, if you're managing this team right now, yeah, you're going to pick certain plays apart. You're going to cut some things up, but you got a different Saudi Arabia side than you probably saw in video from match day 1, right? Who was that against Haiti, right? So you dealt with the challenge. How many shots did you say we gave up in that game?
We gave up 1 shot, 3 shots, one of them on goal.
I mean, you can make all the argument you want, right? But if you give up 1 shot on goal in the game, I mean, of course, you can lose the game 1-0, right? But it's kind of hard to argue like giving up 1 shot in a game, no matter what the game is, because that pretty much means you're in the game all the time. They found their way. It's been a formula for ages that, you find a way on a restart. The U.S. has been famous for it over the years. I think we've gotten away from it a little bit, but I wouldn't mind adding that to our repertoire again, that we become really, really dangerous on restarts. And maybe that's how you win a game in a World Cup someplace. So, I mean, yeah, can we pick apart single plays? No doubt. But overall, I mean, it's pretty good performance for me.
Yeah, I would add to that, Chuck, that sometimes even though on paper you should win the game, it doesn't always play out that way. I referenced the Mexico versus Dominican Republic first game of the Gold Cup where Mexico won 3-2, and we're struggling with a team that they should beat on paper. It's just not that easy. So for us, I think I was pretty impressed over these two games. I'll put them together, that we went out and did what we needed to do and got the results. That's not always an easy thing, and that's something I think at times our team has struggled with in the past as we kind of shifted from being the underdog in every game to starting to be a team that should start to win these games more regularly. And again, and there's also an element of playing to the level of your competition. And I thought we did a nice job of still trying to push the tempo and not getting sucked in too much. I thought Saudi Arabia, again, was good in the first half. The first half felt very uneventful, which was by design from Saudi Arabia. They could try to win it in the second half. And we found the goal on a set piece. And when the game opened up, we were clearly the better team. I thought we managed it well. So I would say ultimately, overall, nice professional performance from the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, I'm curious in your point of view, whose stock really improved in this game? Because things that I look at when I'm watching a game, when I'm trying to analyze, is how many times did we get our guys in the opposition's box, and that's a good sign of, are we getting in there? Are we trying to create? Are we taking risks? Are we taking chances? Are teams, comfortable defending because we're not really threatening and running at them? And when I look at some of those stat lines, like Patrick Agyemang, our starting number 9, he only got in the box with 5 touches in the opposition's box. Tillman, 3 touches in the opposition's box. Diego Luna, 2 touches in the opposition's box. What that tells me is Saudi Arabia did a good job of getting behind the ball and staying compact and playing narrow, forcing the U.S. out wide. I think that early on, if you're a defender on Saudi Arabia and you're playing out wide, you're saying, these guys can't break me down one-on-one. There's no creative, dynamic winger out here that's going to beat me with pace or beat me with some moves. So we'll play central and force them out wide, and we have everything covered. We really weren't that threatening. I'm also disappointed with, when I look at Malik Tillman, he's got a great shot. He has 0 shots in this game. So those are some of the things I'm watching is how influential are, how many times are we running at players to take dribbles? Patrick Agyemang was 2 for 5 when it comes to running at guys and trying something. At least he tried 5 times, but that's the rawness that I'm talking about when we're looking at Patrick Agyemang. Is, does he have tools? Yes. Is he a handful? Yes. But can he be refined? Can because when we say raw means, okay, he has these intangibles you can't teach. He's a physical specimen. He's going to make it difficult. He's for as big as he is, he's quick. He's not slow.
Right.
And he's good with the ball at his feet, but he's not great with the ball at his feet. But if he did sharpen up a little bit more in terms of not maybe doing too much on the dribble, just having your idea of just getting off balance, take a touch and shot, then we're going to see a different Agyemang, maybe one that gives you a little bit more in terms of production. So I think that's what's intriguing to Pochettino is, man, this guy has a lot. Can I get him up to speed? Can I develop him a little bit more at this level? Because you can get away with it in MLS, but in a World Cup, that's not going to work. So I think he's hopeful.
Okay, so we're going to get into player ratings in the next block, but I do want to have this conversation now. Given that we've qualified for the quarterfinals, and if we win our group, by the way, we'll play the second place team in Group A, which is going to be either Mexico or Costa Rica. And that game is going to be the 3rd game of the match day. So whoever loses that game gets to play us. That'll be a real treat. And that should be a lot of fun. We can get into that in the C block. But given that we've qualified now, do you think we'll see Damian Downs starting that 3rd game against Haiti? Or do you think that we're going to see some more continuity from Mauricio Pochettino and Agyemang against Haiti instead, Chuck, as our resident number 9?
I think Tony put it best. we saw a little bit of downs. He makes great runs. The ball that Freeman played to him in the second half, he had to do a curling run to make sure he stayed onside, which he did. It was beautiful. He gets on the end of it. Now that Patrick Agyemang has had 2 games under his belt, this is when the third game you start to make some small changes. It's not wholesale change. He's not making 6, 7, 8 substitutions, but now guys that have been pushing a little bit, you go, okay, Damian Downs, here's your start. And I don't know, maybe he would go with Haji Wright if I don't know if there's a real reason why Haji Wright wasn't in the squad, if he's sick, or if I saw someone said he got married, whatever the case.
Did they mention it in the broadcast? Does anyone know? I mean, we didn't hear it, obviously. I wonder if
he got married back in May, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Get married again already?
Yeah, I don't know, but all I know is I would definitely see Pochettino making a change at the 9, and you could it's an easy out to just say, I'm going to take the pressure off you, big man. You've been putting in quite the shift. You've run all over the place. You've set the press for us. Now let's give somebody else an opportunity, and your legs will be good for the knockout round.
Yeah. I'm with you. I just think the one change I do want to see is the Downs, right? I'm just writing down here, like, this competition was for Patrick Agyemang to potentially pass somebody in that whatever chart you have, right? Whatever depth chart you have at the number 9 position. I don't know that he's passing anybody. The one thing, as you said, Charlie, he does offer is the different profile. But for me, he's still a sub in the game. Like, I don't see Patrick Agyemang at the moment starting any games at the World Cup. If you're bringing him because you're going to change the flow of the game. But Ballo, a healthy Ricardo Pepi, even Josh Sargent right now. Who does he pass out of those guys? And if you want to put Haji Wright as it sounds like someone floated here that he may have had an Achilles injury, they said on the broadcast. So I don't know if we can confirm that or not. I just don't know who you put him ahead of, unless you're completely married to going, I need a big striker that's going to change the game in a different way if the game opens up, that can run by people and body people. Like, you have to have a very specific role for what he does.
That has to get cleaned up in a year. I don't know if he still feels really raw, and obviously a lot can be cleaned up in a year, and we've seen that with some players that we're talking about it with Chris Richards in some ways, right? He's really started to come into his own in some capacity, and I thought he was the man of the match, just to get it out there for everybody watching, anybody that's in the comments as well. Probably an easy choice since he scored the game winner as well, but I thought he was tremendous on both sides of the ball, and his passing was very good. So nice, complete performance from Chris Richards. But yeah, I think that a lot could happen in a year, and I wonder how refined Agyemang can get, especially if he ends up making a move from Charlotte, or if he's going to stay in MLS or whatever it may be. Here's another question for you, since we're kind of on a lineup conversation for the next game. At some point, you're going to start rolling out Tyler Adams, and not that he needs much to flip the switch, because he's probably one of the best that we have in the player pool of hitting the switch at any time to get up to 100 and go as fast as he possibly can to get up to game speed. But would you give him the Haiti game so that he could be prepared? Because it looks like we're going to play Mexico or Costa Rica in the quarterfinals. You're starting to hit a heavy hitter pretty early on in the competition, right? The knockout rounds. Let's focus on Tyler Adams a little bit, because when he comes on the field, the team is just different. We just feel a lot more in charge when he's on the field.
Yeah, I mean, because one, he's a pretty phenomenal 6, right? Let's get that straight. In terms of U.S. men's national team 6s that we've had, the amount of ground he covers, his attitude, his bite, he's actually an underrated passer of the ball. But one thing that I've really enjoyed watching is Sebastian Berhalter, because he not only does he play hard, he's smart and he makes good decisions. He's a tough tackler. He made some incredible tackles, and he anticipates well. He breaks up plays. I wouldn't take him off the pitch at the moment. So I'd say, okay, Tyler Adams and Berhalter, go ahead. I still think Cardoso has been underwhelming in a U.S. men's national team shirt, even today. And I know it's a tough substitution to come in when he did. But right now, my starting two are Berhalter and Adams. And I think Berhalter has played himself into this. You know, he's in form with his club, but it seems like this level is not a step up. Like he doesn't look out of place whatsoever. He looks like he's played with this U.S. Men's national team for a while. He looks like he's got the experience at the international level. So I love what I've seen from him today, and the first game. And Tyler Adams is a no-brainer for me. So Tyler Adams and Berhalter, I think, make the best combo at the moment.
Yeah, Tones, I would concur with those sentiments from you, Chuck. De La Torre, another quiet performance. Again, he's steady and solid. He's a connector, so he just keeps the play moving. So I appreciate what he brings to the table, but still relatively quiet. I do know that he's capable of looking to play forward and joining the attack, and I thought he did maybe have as much of an impact in those particular areas, but I don't want to discount what he does bring to the table because I think he's a very good player. Would you agree with those on with regard to our partnered sixes? Would you?
Yeah. I think part of this, obviously you're here to win the competition, but part of this for a guy like Sebastian Berhalter is for him to get a shot with the first group, right? Part of this is will our next camp, whenever that next camp is, if we're going to have a full team in, do I get a chance to go there, right? And be part of that group. And at the moment for me, he hasn't done anything to say, no, you don't get a chance with that group. Right? Because I still think what these guys are doing now is a lot harder than taking, let's say, a Berhalter, because we're talking about him, and plucking him in with the first team and seeing how he does. Right? When you're in with a bunch of guys that are not the first team, it's a really difficult thing to make it look like you've been together for a while. Right? So So a guy like Berhalter, for me, at least for me, Diego Luna did this in the Nations League. Now, Diego Luna's had 2 quiet games in a row now, right, in this competition, if we're being fair. So we need to now see him again pick things up. But he's given himself a chance to be with the first group. And then I think that's the best way to evaluate them. Matt Freese has given himself a chance now,
Yes.
in my opinion, to be with the first group, and then you make decisions. So, like, I think, of course, we want to win the competition. We're judging these games and we're watching them and evaluating them based on what they're doing tonight. But there's a bigger picture for some of these guys, and that's why I look at a guy like Agyemang. As much as I want the project to work, has he given you enough to put him in with the first group of players when they come? And that's a great way for Pochettino.
For sure. That's a great way to use as a backdrop, too, when people are trying to figure out who fits and where for Mauricio Pochettino and for their own senses of what this team should look like. Guys, let's start here with the starting 11, because I think it was a bit of a surprise. And Chuck, coming to you first. All right. And we were expecting some changes. I think what did we guess? On average, 2 or 3, 4 changes at the most between game 1 and game 2 between Trinidad and Saudi Arabia? We got 0 changes. And Haji Wright, not even in the 23. They're reporting that he had Achilles injury, but we don't know as of yet. Hopefully we'll get more information as time passes, of course. But were you surprised by that starting 11, first and foremost?
Yes, I was surprised, but in the end, I'm absolutely okay with it. This is the direction Pochettino wants to go in. So,
all right, looks like we lost our very own Charlie Davies.
Charlie got to pay that bill.
he gotta pay for that premium Wi-Fi in his timeshare or wherever he's at this particular
his kids
moment.
Just snuck on the video games in the other room, bro.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Big Tone, same question for you though. I was a bit surprised, frankly. I thought we were going to see a couple changes.
Yeah, I thought for sure we'd see a couple. I think we talked about the one up top a couple times. We talked potentially Tolkien at left back, I think we said. I don't have it in front of me, but it sounds like Tolkien is just getting back to fitness, and I would not be surprised if we saw him in game 3 get a start. And I think we weren't sure about the midfield. We were kind of under the impression that maybe Tyler Adams and Cardoso would start in the midfield, but he decided to give these 2 guys a run out, and based on the fact that they got the job done, I'm okay with him giving the guys an opportunity that did okay in the first game. So,
okay, so
I'd be really surprised, Jimmy, if we didn't see a couple in the next game.
Yeah, well, given that we've already qualified, you now need to start thinking bigger as the coach, right? Not just for the next game, but for the knockout rounds, and based on who our opponent could be in that first knockout round game, you want to make sure you're as prepared and as healthy as possible. So, Chuck, I guess let's play this part of the conversation. Let's talk about this part of the conversation. He went with back-to-back starting 11s. Did you see enough of an improvement? Like, because okay, you're going into the continuity thing, and now we're playing a different opponent. Do you think they did enough? Not to say I don't think they're going to start the same lineup again because of the reasons we just discussed. But do you feel like you saw enough for this group to potentially get another chance at some point down the? You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I think you're picking up.
No, I think what you're trying to say is this the group? Is this the starting 11 going forward? Let's say this is a knockout round. We get past the third game. And let's say there are 2, 3, 4 changes. I don't think there's going to be more than 4 changes, to be honest. But let's say they make those changes and now we're in the knockout stage. Do you foresee this being the starting 11? Did they do enough over these past 2 games to say,
yeah, I guess
this is the starting 11? Yeah, I got you. What I would say is no. I still think Jack McGlynn. I still think Jack McGlynn is not your right winger. He's not going to run down the pitch. He's not going to give you width. He's always going to come inside. So therefore, he's very predictable. And unless you're Lionel Messi, I don't see or a Lamine Yamal, I don't see that happening because he's not beating you down on the dribble. He's not breaking you down. So his best asset is his passing ability, right? He has great awareness and he has a good shot. But if you close him down, it's sideways or backwards. So I think that's one. Patrick Agyemang, that for me, he hasn't convinced me he's the number 9 in this group. Because you also, if you're not scoring goals, what else are you doing? The pressure, the defensive, but the good touches, a good movement. And I think he's struggled at times, and that's normal because of his rapid rise. Like I said, he's raw. He's learning in real time. Like he's growing much more than a lot of these guys because he's been such a late bloomer. And I think that's part of it. It's how fast can they get him up to speed? Is it enough time? I think that's what we're all saying because he does have a lot of the intangibles. And then can he eventually get there? Can he reach his potential? And then, I think Luna, he had a really poor night for what he brings to the table. No shots. Only got 2 touches in the box, 40 touches. He had 27 or 32 of his passes that he connected. It felt like he was trying to find the game. He never settled in. He was always looking to get involved. A lot of chasing, doing dirty work, but it didn't lead to anything. And then De La Torre, when Tyler Adams is healthy, he gets a nod over him. It's not even close. I think Berhalter, with his performance over these 2 matches, he's given Pochettino something to think about because it might have been what we all thought. Cardoso and Adams are the 2, but I think as well as he's played, it makes it damn near impossible to take him off the pitch.
Yeah, maybe. And I thank you for helping me out there and giving me the assist. Yeah. I guess another way to say it too is if everybody was healthy, who would be your? And say we get to the Gold Cup final, who's starting in that game? Based on what you've seen leading up to it. And I think Matt Freese would be your number 1 right now. Freeman would probably be your right back. Yep. It looks like Richards and Ream look like the center back pairing. Arfson seems to be the guy, but we'll see if Tolkien can get some minutes and maybe change his mind, though it seems like him having a break might work against him. Berhalter and Adams seem like the 6s. I think McGlynn at some point will get supplanted. I think that you could have – I'd actually like to see a Haji Wright, Diego Luna, Malik Tillman, Damian Downs, kind of a front 4, right? I think that would be fun to see, and I wonder if we'll get a little taste of that against Haiti. And Haiti's going to be a much different opponent. I actually think the best opponent so far in the group stage, so that'll be a nice test, especially because they have to win. They have to win. They have to beat us to get into the knockout rounds. And I like that there's that type of urgency. I'm glad we're not playing the Haiti that's lost 2 games and doesn't really have much to play for. I love that they have something to play for. That's going to make for a much more entertaining game on Sunday. But I'd like to see some other form of combination, I think, of our front players. And obviously there's other guys we can throw in. But more Tillman and Luna, I'm not opposed to that if we get to see them roll out for the 3rd consecutive game. Let's talk, though. I'm going to throw it right back to you, resident number 9, Charlie Davies. Would you like to see maybe 2 strikers as opposed, and maybe you drop a Tillman or Luna for that game 3. You can put Tillman underneath 2 strikers. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and maybe do
Jimmy.
something to
Jimmy,
that
I'll
effect.
stop you right there. Pochettino went with a system, and it's the 4-2-3-1. That's the system he's always been most comfortable in. From back in his Southampton to Tottenham days, he first 2 games, that's the system. You don't go to game 3 and go, you know what? I'm feeling a little spicy here.
No,
Let's
of course.
go experimentation. I'm gonna go. No, but I liked in this. Fair. Yeah.
But no, I'm going to jump in. Do you think you could, because you could in theory put Downs up high and then Haji right underneath, right? And then you could have Tillman and Luna on either side if you wanted. I mean, there is a way to play 2 strikers and still kind of fit into a 4-3-2-1. Or like a second striker, one that just drops in.
No, Tillman's playing the 10. And if Haji Wright,
okay.
If Haji Wright does play, he's going to play. And if Downs is in, he's going to play in his left wing spot. That's where he normally plays, and we'd see Luna on the opposite side or vice versa. But it seems to me that he wants to play Haji Wright in that left wing spot, and that's where he's played in a full season last year in Coventry. He's played maybe half a season there this year. So, would I like to see it still? Yeah, I think Haji Wright playing on the left and Tillman in the middle, Luna on the right, and Downs up top. That could still be effective as hell, especially when we're talking about Haiti. We're not talking about Costa Rica or down the line. So, yeah, but I don't know if he'll take off Berhalter. He's been damn good 2 straight matches. I'd let the kid ride it out, especially because he's young and he's hungry. Also, Matt Freese, Tony, are you gonna give him a game off in the third? Or you ride him out, right? The entire tournament.
Yeah, and I want to answer real quick on the 2 striker. I think you try it tonight. You see if you ever have to use it in a game. I don't think we got anything out of it in the 2 striker system. But I'm with you, Charlie. I would go if you're talking about the strongest team. Of course, we don't know about Haji Wright. We don't know all the details. Let's just assume that he's able to play. Haji Wright on the left, Tillman, and if you're going to have an inverted winger, why not put Luna on the right-hand side? And I'd say this after the first game, I still need to see more out of Agyemang if he's going to start. I want to see Damian Downs. I've been saying it for 3 games now. Okay, he was sick the first game. But maybe that changes the look for Luna because, not great tonight, not great against Switzerland. Okay, Trinidad is what it is. And I think he got 2 assists in that game, right? Or maybe he got 1. I can't remember. But anyway, I just maybe it changes the game for him a little bit. But he's active, he fights, he does all of those things. But I'm not seeing 2 strikers in this thing.
Yeah, no. You're right. And Chuck, you make a great point about just the way that Pochettino likes to play. The 4-2-3-1 is definitely the way moving forward. And people got to fit in. I do think, though, and I'm going to stand by it, I think Jack McGlynn will end up losing that spot by the end of the tournament. I think it'll go to a Haji Wright or a Damian Downs or somebody else who maybe I'm wrong. He seems to like Jack McGlynn. And I do think that he brings a lot to the table, but we could use a little bit more dynamic movements going forward. Yeah,
he's an 8 at best.
Jimmy. I know.
Jack McGlynn is an 8 at best. He's a 6 when he has time and space to pick his head up. You have teams sitting back and he can spray the ball. He's not going to run by you. He's not.
That's the thing.
So as a defender, I can step. I know he's not going to beat me. I can step to him, and that's it. Right?
He's not going to give you that verticality either, right? Like he's not going to, if Agyemang or Downs or whoever Haji Wright's up top and they come to check in, he's not the guy that's going to then get in behind and get vertical, right? And at some points we need that.
The McGlynn thing is interesting because I'm with Jimmy. I get the sense that he likes Jack McGlynn and is trying to put him in someplace.
Yes, Yunus Musa 2.0. It's the same thing, Tony, as Yunus Musa. He said, I really like him. I need to find a place to put him in. I'm going to put him in that right wing spot just because I want him to get him on the field because I like him. Ultimately, that it's not.
If he went 4-3-3, he would probably fit into the midfield a little bit more than this 4-2-3-1 as a winger, right? Because I think the general expectation from all of us is that a winger at some point takes you on in the game, right? takes you on and dribbles you, and you see the defender going back, and you have a battle, and you got to beat him once or twice, right? I don't know that we get that. Luna's a little bit more of that on the other side. He's not a turn the corner and beat you kind of guy. He's going to do something where he's cutting towards the goal on an angle, and he's going to try and beat you and combine with somebody.
Yeah.
McGlynn offers two really big qualities, though. His long ball distribution. Actually, he's a very good passer of the ball in all ranges, right?
Great vision.
And his
Phenomenal
and
vision.
his shots from distance, right, are I mean, he's exceptional in that area, right? So if you go back to what was it, the Panama game, when we were a little bit miffed that he put him in the game. The thing he mentioned right after the game was we thought we'd get some shots from distance. It was the first thing he talked about after the game. So he sees quality, and he should. He's a quality player. I think we're on the same page. We don't see him as a winger, right? I'm saying it in air quotes, as a winger.
Yeah. No.
He's got to play someplace else.
Yeah, I mean, and Tony, the simple fact that it's so predictable to play against him because he will not go right. And if you don't go right, then you sure as hell better have a burst of speed to go left. Because we know if you give him time and space, you drop off him, he's able to pick out anybody on the pitch. Phenomenal vision, great touch on every pass. He can play different types of passes, can shoot from distance, right? But if he doesn't have time and space, this is where he struggles. And as a right winger, you need to offer something else. Defensively, too, doesn't have enough speed to close down players. So, if we're checking down the boxes as a right attacking player, all in all, we're talking about World Cup level because we're not really necessarily trying to equate what the Gold Cup is for these guys. We're thinking long term. All right, a year from now, what's the upside? Where can he help this team? Well, if you're playing against a team who's sitting back, dropping deep, you need to bring in somebody who can play those long balls to play quicker in the wide areas. Find someone in the channel quick who can do that. Jack McGlynn, get him in, right? He'll take the ball off a center back, turn and smash one 60 yards on a dime. If you're saying, hey, we're in a low block, get the ball wide to Jack McGlynn on the touchline. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna take off away his left foot. Then what's he gonna do? So I think that's where we're both at.
Yeah, there really isn't a. I'm looking at the entire lineup now. There isn't
There's
like
no
a
wingers.
true winger.
No, there isn't.
Okay. Haji Wright is technically a winger, right? He plays there, but there really isn't like the true definition of a winger in this group. You can make an argument for Brendan Aronson because he's played there before. He will dribble at you. He will run at you. But I don't think Pochettino really sees him there. He put him as a left winger. I think tonight maybe a little bit reluctantly, but yeah, I don't. I suppose he's the one you could make the biggest argument in this roster for. And I didn't realize. I think you mentioned this once when the roster first came out, but I don't know that I kind of realized until just about now, to be honest with you, or tonight when we're looking for wingers to come in the game. So
Tony, I mentioned this thing 20 times. I said, where are the wingers? Where are the players with pace who can beat you down the line? Players who are going to take you one-on-one. Can Brendan Aronson play in the wing? Yes. Can Haji Wright play in the wing? Yes. Can Quinn Sullivan play in the wing? Yes. But are they your prototypical international wingers for the U.S. men's national team? They all have their strengths. But if we're talking about, breaking down a low block, that's not in any of their repertoires, so to speak. So I think this is going to be a big learning process for Pochettino, and we'll see what it looks like when they're playing against a Costa Rica or a Mexico, and when the stakes are a little bit higher. Set pieces are an incredible way to change games.
Oh, you win games. Yeah. Hell yeah. Don't discount set pieces as any less of a goal than a goal. Like if you score a goal in the World Cup, do you care if it's off a set piece or run a play? You don't care, right? Who are the winger? I know Timothy Weah and Christian Pulisic. Who are the wingers we had a chance to bring in? I guess we'd have to look at it at some point. Well, Zendejas, right? But I think Zendejas, they were thinking that he was going to play in the Club World Cup, and then everything, they didn't win. LAFC goes through, so that maybe is one. But again, I don't see him as a conventional winger.
No.
Like a guy he does it in a different way. So
Kevin Paredes would be one that maybe,
but he's injured, right? I mean, he's injured quite a bit, so he can't get into a rhythm. Although can be a guy. We've seen him. I forget which camp we saw him in, but we seen him with the national team. Certainly a capable player, but he's got to stay healthy. I don't know, man. It's interesting how he's kind of slicing this lineup up, Chuck, and he's kind of putting some square pegs in round holes in some of these positions right now.